She Quest Podcast is heart-opening dialogues for self-identified women on a She Quest, a movement moving forward, striving to live aware, bold, and whole. Welcome. Do you have a body? Don't sit on the porch. Go out, walk in the rain. Wake up, wake up. You've slept for millions of years. Why don't you wake up this morning? Kabir. Welcome to She Quest podcast series titled Bodyful. I'm your host, Estelle Thomson. These next series of podcast shows are titled Bodyful, Wake Up to Your Body. I hope you use this short radio show as a self-exploration tool for personal growth. Being on a She Quest is striving to live aware, bold, and whole. Behind you, what you hear is my puppy Edgar. So if you should hear some farts and snorts, that's him playing in the background. Full disclaimer here. There he is again. This month, we explore and dive deep in the magic of your body. For me, that means going beyond the intellectual understanding and moving into a visceral, moving, feeling place. If today's episode had a soundtrack, it'd be the song by Feist. Remember that song from the late 2000s? I feel it all. I feel it all. I feel it all. I'll spare you. But feeling it all is not something we always know how to do. How can we feel whole when many of us feel disembodied? How can I feel a sense of belonging in the larger world if I don't feel a sense of belonging in my body? My hope is this. I want this podcast to really start and kindle this conversation and, surrounding feeling it all in our bodies and how can we engage with all our parts and give you some technique on how to feel it all. So thanks, Feist. But first, if you'd like a bit more background on the She Quest philosophy around women and bodies, I urge you to listen episode 3, How to Start a Practice of Loving and Looking at Your Body, and episode 4, Project Body Love at Home and Embodied with Jessie Harold. In my first solo episode on this subject, I instill in us one of yoga's most fundamental teaching, that all you need is what you have, and all you have is what you need. I share my own recovery story of being a perfectionist and how I wanted to filter, fix, and hide my body, and how the yogis and She Quest path really healed me. In that episode, you will learn how owning your body is really owning your truth, that triggers need not be avoided, and finally, that the body is the gateway to all the magic in this life you seek. And in Jessie's episode, you'll learn how presence, nature, respect helps us build a loving relationship with our bodies. So perhaps listen to those two before this one to just get a bit more understanding of what is it I'm talking about. Also, in the She Quest initiation that you can get on its own, it's completely free with membership, but there are tons more insights, breathing exercise, yoga classes, all gear on body fullness, and that's in the module, the body module. And also one all-time She Questers favorite mindful art exercise, super cathartic, and that's called the shame dump. So get those on there. But for now, let's dig into what does it mean to be in our bodies fully, and how can I start doing that today? We always start the podcast with asking the soul inquiry, what makes you feel alive today? Today, what makes me feel alive is strong coffee and soft sadness. Yes, sadness makes me feel alive today. So I didn't make up this term, bodyful, by the way. It's from the author Sharon Blackie that I first encountered that word, which made so much sense to me. Mindful is so mainstream, and as soon as she explained in her book, the concept and term bodyful, I had this longing for that word now, bodyful, to be mainstream. Her beautiful book, by the way, The Enchanted Life, Unlocking the Magic of Everyday, is really good. I recommend, and I'll place the link in our show notes. Blackie talks about the many issues regarding why we have shielded off our bodies. Perhaps it is because we think it only houses the mind. Perhaps because we have been made to feel separate from nature and the world around us through cultural messaging surrounding women's body. Perhaps because we've ignored its pains, cries, until one day we could not ignore the cries anymore. The question remains, though, how can we fully inhabit our bodies? Well, let's look into this new term that she coins, bodyful, by way of its inspiration, mindful. And as you know me, I went into the root of the word mindful and I just searched it in the dictionary. And the definition is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. But in the language of ancient India, mindfulness is really translated from that word sati, which many original like Buddhist texts, refers to, like, roughly means just awareness. So being aware. Mindfulness is being aware of what's going on in your mind. But when we refer to bodyful, obviously it's being aware of what's going on in your body. But what really shifts things for me is when I heard my teacher, Frank Weller, um, who would talk about the root of the word mindful, also being the root memory. So mindful really is about our memory. And you wouldn't believe that when I did my research around that word sati, it referred to the same thing. It referred to remembrance and recollection. So this is so important, relaying it to bodyful, since our bodies have memories, our bodies have recollection and remembrance, our bodies have stories to tell, and we must bring those forth and out. So here are Sharon Spackie's recommendation for developing and cultivating bodyfulness. So I've just kind of condensed them and paraphrased them from her book, but do get her book, okay? First, respecting your body's rhythm, such as season and inner season. And I'm super proud to have spent the entire last month with membership, speaking and debunking our beliefs surrounding the menstrual cycle and developing a real understanding and awareness around our own. She goes into simple, remembering to move, that we're not meant to be sedentary. And in membership, of course, we have the yoga channel, which offers so many yoga sequences. Again, thinking of a body not just as an object, but as a flower, or just different ways to connect with it. There goes Edgar back here with a toy. And 3, engage with the world. Talk to the world, sing to the world, and dance to the world. And I have a little story pertaining to that. But, all this, so let me repeat them so they're clear. So first, she talks about respecting your body's rhythm. The second is remembering to move. And 3 is to engage with the world. So we've been taught, like, I think before I am, from Descartes. But the world is not what you think, but the world is how you feel it and how you live it. We are the world, and the world is with us. And I'd love to tell you a story. In my retreats, I'm often inspired by the elements and what surrounds us. Once I was in Costa Rica leading a retreat, and we had been playing every day with the elements. So, I'll do topics such as day 1 is about the earth element, day 2, the water, fire and so on. And we got to the air day. And on that day, the wind was so strong. I mean, people working at the resort told us that this never happens where they are. And internally, I was giggling. Because the win is not happening to us. The win is in a relationship with us. If we see, like, the win is the air, is our breath, is in and all around us, and we are part of our nature. And this is how we can honor and really acknowledge our embeddedness with the world, realizing that, we're not separate from the world. We are one with it. And the wind kept raging that day, and it was as if the jungle was speaking to us and dancing with us, and it was truly magic. So today's grounding techniques is from Blackie's book, a practice that is from the Tibetan yoga tradition, and it's called touching enlightenment. This is actually a technique that if you've done a yoga teacher training, it's like one of the first, I think, technique we are taught of in a Shavasana. But it's just when you send your breath to specific parts of the body one by one. So I love to do this. I'm just, now my dog Victor wants to come on. He's very busy in my studio this morning. But I love to do this touching enlightenment exercise. I lay down, and my most favorite place to do it is literally outside, my back on the earth. And as you know, I love to put flowers in my hair. Again, those are just little things you can do to engage with the world and in relation to your body, so you don't feel separate from the world. You feel you belong. And you can close your eyes and literally one by one. And sometimes I feel your yoga teachers will do that, where it's like a body scan. And I get a kick of people, like, because I look at people wearing the Shavasana and they breathe, and you ask them to breathe in their feet, and you see their little toes kind of move, acknowledging that they're breathing in their feet. But I would recommend you do this completely still. We don't need to necessarily move to be aware of our calves and our knees and our hips and our rib cage and all that, and just to feel the presence of them, as they are. And the most incredible shift happens when you do that, because we don't think of our body as like an object anymore that is controlled by your mind, but we realize that the body as its own intelligence and its own inner wisdom and its own intuition. The body is just alive with all these stories that you carry, whether that be in your heart or in your bones or in your blood or in your veins. You're full of them. It's really beautiful and poetic when you start to look at your body this way. And by doing this exercise, ultimately, you're acknowledging and revering in the miracle of having a body. Bessel van der Kolk from The Body That Keeps Score. It's another book that's really super heavy book, but another, if you're really interested in the body part of the She Quest. Also, he highlights over and over again, just by gaining gaining awareness of our body parts, like literally like knowing where your shoulder is, like closing your eyes and have this like inner internal, okay, my right shoulder is here, like I'm doing it right now. Close your eyes. Okay, my belly's here, and feeling in and around your body. It just builds resilience and ownership of your body, and in that way, you're not hijacked by emotion when something traumatic happens, because you have an internal and external reference of your body. So the grounding technique is the touching enlightenment exercise that I recommend with the tip of the month. So you could do the touching enlightenment exercise lying on your back and going parts by parts to your body. And then what I recommend this month is to write about your body. Why are you grateful for it, for each part? And Jessie Harold in Project Body Love does this so beautifully. It's so beautiful, that part in her book. So you could get inspired by that if you have her book as well. Why do you love your feet? Your feet carry you wherever you go. Why do you love your arms? Your arms have carried your children, and so on. Okay. So yeah, this is wonderful to do after the touching enlightenment grounding technique. The mantra is Only in Love by my most favorite, the beautiful chorus, of course. The passage read today was from Kabir. The music in the intro has graciously been donated by artist Jen Grant, whom I adore. You can find me always at estellethomson.com or estelle.thompson on Instagram, where I'm most active. Yours in feeling alive from the inside and cultivating body fullness always. E-Star. Love you. Bye. And bye from Edgar and Victor as well.